You're listening to the Bulldog Hour, getting you inside the Wilson football program with weekly game previews, recaps, highlights, and interviews. Now, here are your hosts, Joe Mays and Justin Raffoff.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Bulldog Hour. I'm Joe Mays. Sitting next to me is my co-host, Justin Raffoff.
Yeah, it's good to be back, and plenty to talk about, but it's crazy. I saw you posted this the other day. We have reached the halfway point of the regular season.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, it's amazing. 5 weeks down. Really, we're about to embark shortly on really month 3 of the season, because almost the entire month of August was dedicated to high school football, with, at least in the state of Pennsylvania, with, the heat acclimatization, and then you got 2 weeks of practice, the second of which now culminates with the start of the regular season. And, it's been going since August 23rd, which is exactly a month tomorrow, the first day of almost said summer, first day of fall, officially, although we've talked about how meteorologically speaking,
that doesn't count.
That is the only thing that matters. Although the way it's been feeling around here, it certainly doesn't feel like fall.
It feels like we reset. It was hotter today than it was for the games we had in August.
Yeah, and I saw one of those memes going around where it's like summer in Pennsylvania, or the season's in Pennsylvania, and it was like, how does summer go? And we were in like fake fall a few weeks ago, and now we're in the second summer, right before real fall gets here.
I saw one, and this was appropriate last week. It was like, we're at that time where you get all 4 seasons in one day,
right?
In Pennsylvania.
Wake up and it feels like winter,
right.
And you just progress throughout the day. So, yeah, good stuff. Love the weather talk here on the Bulldog Hour, but we are deep into summer, as we literally have less than a day left of it, and we're ready to start fall. And by the time fall rolls around, Wilson's already won 5 games.
Hey, I'll take that.
Hey, that's the way every year should be.
Yeah.
So it's the most successful start to the season since 2014, when the team also went 5-0 en route to starting actually 14-0 before falling to a very strong Pine Richland team in the technically the Western State Final, as Bulldogs were still considered. It's when District 3 was still going out west. But the team this year, we're off to a pretty solid start as well. And another victory Friday evening in Millersville against Penn Manor, who is struggling. But, you only get to play the games that the league puts in front of you,
right,
and you have no handle on that. So Wilson's Section 1 opener was against the Comets, and we will have a lot to say about that game, and we've got highlights and one interview this week before we move on to talk about the big one, the big showdown, which easily is a top 5 matchup across the state this week. I know people in this area and, central Pennsylvania, or South Central, whatever you want to call it, at large, this could be the game in the state this week.
Yeah, depending on your focus, it could easily be the top game in the state. Going in, it's got a lot of, it's got everything. You get some crazy and some good matchups in the non-leagues, in the non-league slate. Wilson had a number of those, and a lot of Wilson's opponents also had other like marquee matchups and things like this. But honestly, when you look across the board, Section 1 of the LL is really holding their own so far.
Yeah,
and we actually talked about the old Section 1 a little bit on Friday night, and it kind of gives you kind of a moment to reflect back to, again, before all of the players on the team were even born, but back when there were a lot, when Section 1 was very deep. Let's just put it that way, you look at that right now, and that's absolutely the case, including Wilson and Manheim Township, who face off this Friday in that marquee matchup that we were referring to.
Yeah, and it's the first game with the Blue Streaks at home since 2016, so it's been 3 years. Not quite 3 years. I believe that game was in October, but with the reorganization of the schedules with teams dropping and sections being changed prior to the 2017 season, following the 2017 season, which Wilson played at Manheim Township during the regular season and then had to go there during the playoffs. When things reorganized and reset prior to 2018, we ended up going back there again. I know a lot of people didn't understand that, and it's just like, that's just the way it works. Right. And on the flip side happened, we also went to McCaskey back-to-back years.
Right.
But we hosted Penn Manor in back-to-back years. It's just
for obvious reasons. Like, people don't really think of it as like, oh, Penn Manor had to come to us back-to-back years. Right. You know, like, they don't think of it that way. That's just kind of how that was. And the third game was because of playoffs, you know.
Right,
so,
yeah, and you have
right. So it was like playing at in Nessville 3 times in what, 12 months or something like that was kind of crazy.
Not great. Obviously, we don't like that. We like to play at home, and we don't like to go to a place that is a hostile place to play. And but Wilson has success anywhere they go. And as I work through season by season, and I work on the stats to compile the on this day in Wilson history thing, like, eventually trends will pop up. But I mean, when you're a team like Wilson, like Manheim Central, like Cumberland Valley, Central Dauphin Moore over the last few decades, like, when you're a dominant team, it really doesn't matter where you go,
right,
home, away, or neutral,
right. And that's like, we look at that, for example, that Manheim Township team a couple years ago was pretty darn good, and that's why they were the high seed, and we had to go back to, you know, like,
they won the district championship and, did their best against Pittsburgh Central Catholic.
Went toe to toe with them for a little while.
As much as they could, as much as anyone can.
So
but we're we have stuff to look at, to talk about. I don't know, this wasn't really on the schedule, but we might as well take a brief look at it, because why not? The power rankings are always updated, and I think we'll just take a quick look at them, where things stand. Again, this is only halfway through the year, so a ton of stuff will occur, but maybe some people don't recall who Wilson could play in the playoffs. So let's just take a look at the 18 teams that are 6A schools for the 18-19 cycle that we're finishing this fall. And Wilson sits on top, not by much, but just a hair over Manheim Township. Obviously, that'll change after this week. And then you got Harrisburg sitting in there behind them, followed by Cedar Crest, who, yes, in this 2-year cycle is back in 6A and remains undefeated, 5-0. They get to travel to Lidditz this week to play Warwick. So all 4 Lancaster-Lebanon League Section 1 teams that are undefeated are meeting each other this week, September 27th. And down in with some 5A teams in Section 2, you have Manheim Central and Cocalico playing each other.
Big night in the top 2 sections of the LL League.
Oh, and also this weekend, Saturday, will be Central Dauphin at Harrisburg. So obviously a huge impact on these power rankings that we're looking at here.
You know, we have half the season left, and it looks like
this is 6A right
here.
Yeah,
it looks like Cedar Crest didn't enter their 5th game yet.
Yeah, so they
the numbers shift around all the time.
Yeah, and if you're looking, like we talked about this beforehand, Harrisburg and Reading both played teams that aren't part of the power ratings because of being outside the PIAA.
Right. For example, on the more local scale, like Berks Catholic's game against Malvern Prep and their game previously against McDonough, neither of those count for power
district
rankings,
seeding,
win or lose, because they you
don't play
and
Harrisburg lost to Archbishop Hoban. That's not reflected here. And Reading defeated a school down in the DC area, and that's not reflected here, and it won't be. So don't go in thinking this isn't updated like we did briefly. You just got to realize that some of these games that these teams are playing count in the standings, but when it comes to power rating time, they do not count.
Right.
So you can see Reading, who just lost this past weekend, yesterday, to Governor Mifflin, sitting there at 7th at the moment. Again, that's not completely updated, not reflective of their most recent game. But Red Lion rounds out the group at 8. So you got 2 York teams in there, Central York at 5 and Red Lion at 8. And on the outside looking in, you got Chambersburg, Cumberland Valley, Central Dauphin East, Lebanon, and then Hempfield, who Wilson will be playing in 2 weeks. We'll be previewing that game a week from now.
Lebanon, who was in Section 3 of the LL.
Yes.
Beat Lancaster Catholic this week.
They did. So impressive victory for the Cedars. But that's a quick look at the power ratings as they stand halfway through the season. And obviously, this is going to change drastically over the next few weeks. All right, so let's get to the game, the victory over Penn Manor. Let's do the housekeeping real quick. Let's run through this because we do have some changes that we want to talk about. So if you do want to help us out on the show, there's multiple ways you can do that. And these individuals or businesses have done so, and we want to thank them, and we appreciate their support. May's Sandwich Shop, Topher's 10th and Elm Cafe, our 2 anonymous donors, and our most recent sponsor back on the program, a great guy, writer, reporter for Eastern PA Football.com, and a huge LL Hoops guy.
Yes.
Also a Nebraska alum and diehard fan.
Man, when on Saturday night, I was just watching that Nebraska score thinking, oh, Andy must be going nuts. Right.
Yeah, so Andy Herr back here with us on the Bulldog Hour, showing us some love and support, and we really appreciate it. We got to hang out with him after the Penn Manor game. He was there covering the Bulldogs Comets matchup, and we hung around and talked high school football and a variety of other sports topics. The both of us, him and Justin Burke, who's the guy that helps me on the sideline with the cameras. And it was a lot of fun. So we appreciate Andy being back on board with us here at the Bulldog Hour. And if you're interested in supporting us, there's multiple ways you can do that. Besides sponsorship and advertising and the in-kind donations, check out the website. We always have a lot of information there. And then spreading the word.
Yeah, like and share, right? We talk about that. If you like what you see, let other people know about it. And an easy way to do that is to like and share.
Our next live show will be a week from now, Sunday, September 29th. Should be at the same time. If that changes, we'll let everyone know. But like I said, we'll be recapping the game against Manheim Township and previewing the Game 7 at Hempfield. And you can see, I talk about it every week. We're already in the middle of that middle column now and eyeing the end of that second column a week from now. So, yeah, it's moving quickly, and we got some big events coming up in less than 3 weeks now, and that is the 75th season celebration dates. Remember, Friday, October 11th is the Wilson Football Tradition Club event where we'll be recognizing and celebrating past title teams. We're focusing on the fall of 1969, 1979, 1989, 1999, and 2009. And there'll be a lot of people back in town for that event, as well as the follow-up, the Alumni Flag football game on Saturday, October 12th, 6 o'clock kickoff at Gurski, and an evening reception for the football personnel from the past 7+ decades is being held at PJ's afterwards. And there's going to be some famous names, especially on the coaching side from the past 75 years of Wilson football. So if you're interested in seeing some gentlemen that haven't been around, don't live in the area anymore, they are coming back. So
right.
You'll have your chance to interact with them. So it'll be a lot of fun. So just a reminder, you can get your tickets for the Alumni Flag football game and the football post-game reception at PJ Wellahan's. Physical tickets are available at May's Sandwich Shop during business hours. Right now, the flag football tickets are $3 for students and seniors, and $4 for adults. Children 9 and under are free. And then the reception tickets are also on sale, physical versions of it at May's Sandwich Shop, and it's $12.50 if you're a former football personnel, you're player, coach, manager, trainer, athletic director.
Yeah.
And then if they would like to bring a guest, those are $15 per ticket. If you'd like to buy that online, you can do so at bulldoghour.com/tickets. All right. Well, let's move right in now to the Penn Manor game and get some stats here for you. And we'll get to the highlights then shortly. So Wilson started slowly. It wasn't a great opening quarter or so. They actually, they got a turnover almost immediately.
Right.
An interception by Eli Rotenberg. but the offense failed to punch it into the end zone. They settled for a field goal, and then they had some trouble with a Penn Manor drive that culminated in a touchdown for them, and they did a tricky 2-point conversion. Kind of reminds me of what we do at West.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Penn Manor's up 8-3, and no one was panicking, but it was just kind of like, all right, we need to get our act together. We need to get the ball rolling here. And it took a little bit, but Wilson answered right back then, struggled a little, do it again, and then it just kind of steamrolled from there. And I think at one point they scored on 5 straight possessions, went into halftime, I think, up 31-8, and the final score was 51-24, and those late Penn Manor touchdowns were coming against the Wilson's JV units. So
right,
it ended up being a pretty dominant performance after the slow start. But statistically, Wilson achieved 21 first downs to Penn Manor's 13. Bulldogs rushed for an even 300 yards, which we talked about. Could we see 4 100-yard rushers? That was like the ultimate dream, the ultimate goal of having your quarterback and 3 running backs. But this is before we realized that Jaden Jones was out with an injury. Right. That had happened during practice.
We got some surprise runs in there too.
But we did.
That added up.
Yeah. So. And Penn Manor only rushed for 74 yards. And again, a lot of that came in the late second half when the game was already in hand. Wilson passed for 208 yards to Penn Manor's 109. No interceptions for the Bulldogs. Penn Manor threw the one early that I just mentioned. So total offense, Wilson over 500 yards and Penn Manor under 200. And again, a lot of that came when the game was pretty much over. Third down conversions, the Wilson defense did step up there and held Penn Manor to 1 of 10. But the Wilson offense struggled a bit, only converting 2 of their 6. But once they got down in the red zone, they always put points on the boards. And that's true for both teams. Penn Manor did it twice. Wilson did it 4 times. Individually speaking, 2 big players offensively. Well, 3. Avanti again, 11 carries, 90 yards, 2 touchdowns. He made it look easy a few times. Then it was a Leonard next, but it wasn't Mason, who did get on the scoreboard. He had a touchdown, a beauty that we're going to see in the highlights. I believe it was a 44-yard run where he put on the brakes and made a cut, and it made a lot of people miss. Thankfully, I did get some pictures of that. So, yeah, Mason carried 3 times for 47 yards and that long touchdown. But he was actually the 4th leading rusher. The quarterback, Caleb Brown, was in 3rd with 64. But number 2 was Gavin Leonard, who I think he goes by the nickname Goose, which everyone was cheering as he was getting the ball in the second half, which was great. And he's going to show up in our highlights as well. He only carried it 4 times, but he had 85 yards, including a big 46-yarder, which I know a lot of people think he scored, but I actually think I caught on my camera him stepping out of bounds right as he was diving for the pylon.
That's what they marked. I couldn't see it from where I was.
It's tough to tell.
But it's tough to tell. They from looking at the ref, it didn't look like they marked it as though he landed out of bounds short. It looked like they marked it as though he stepped out before.
Yeah, I think that, and I think that's what it was. So he was close.
I think they marked him at the 2, not at
it wasn't
inside
right,
the 1 or something.
Right. Passing wise, Wilson played a few quarterbacks, only 2 attempted passes, and obviously the starter Caleb Brown was there for most of those attempts. He completed 9 of his 13 passes for 190 yards and 3 touchdowns, a long of 40, and those long passes that upped his yardage total went to Brady Gibble. He had 2 catches for 68 yards, both of them touchdowns that looked identical to one another late in the second quarter before halftime.
Yeah, another really efficient night for Caleb, which is kind of the word that we've used a bunch for his play this year. So you like to see that, and it was nice to see them connect on some of those long throws. That's always a good sign.
Brady's were 36 and 32 yarder. The longest pass was actually Brown to Lockhart out of the backfield. He took it, rumbled for 40 yards. Eli chipped in 3 for 39 and made a couple nice catches himself. And then Troy got in the action early on, scoring a touchdown right after Wilson went down 8-3. The team drove down and finished with a Troy Corson touchdown. Defensively, it was kind of spread out. There wasn't one person that stood out this week. We got 5 people with 3.5 total tackles. a couple sacks coming from defensive end Ethan Capitano and Ethan Ashcroft. And, just all around, not too bad. It got burned a couple of times on maybe a few screens that they weren't quite ready for. But the defense, in the end, they gave up the one early touchdown,
Right.
settled down, and like I said, the two that got Penn Manor to the 24 points came when the starters were
we also
were
had
done.
some nice plays down the field by the secondary, which was nice to kind of see some of those. So to kind of, in terms of complementing each other, we made some plays down the field on the offensive side, and we also made some plays on the defensive side down the field. That's always a positive thing. So it's definitely some things to build off of going into this week. It seems like they've done a fairly good job of that each week. So hopefully we can kind of keep that moving as we move forward.
Yeah. And looking at midway point of the regular season, stats after 5 weeks, year to date, Wilson is outscoring teams on average 44.8 to 17.6. That's the way you want to go. That's the trend you want to have.
Yes.
They are outrushing teams by nearly over 1,000 yards cumulative. 1,373 yards for Wilson, rushing to 323 for opponents. They have 17 rushing touchdowns to 4 from opponents. Definitely getting outpassed, but that makes sense when you're up big. You don't tend to pass as much.
Yes.
And
but you also end up against teams that have to pass a lot. But you've also gone against a few really good passing quarterbacks.
Right, yeah. So Engro and Simon back to back.
Yeah,
nothing to sneeze at. So
blowout. Well, Springford wasn't a blowout game, but a game where Wilson got up multiple scores.
Right,
and then in the Manheim Central game, they're getting mercy ruled, but they're still. Now Simon didn't play, I think, at the very end on the offensive side there, but he played the vast majority of that game. So
yeah. So all in all, not too bad. Wilson's best quarter so far has been the second. They've scored 105 points in the second quarter. And that's when they really seem to turn it up. So we talk about slow starts. The only quarter that Wilson scored less points is the fourth than the first quarter. And again usually the starters aren't in anymore, so that's a little misleading. So after 5 games, they've scored 38 points in the first quarter. It'd be nice this week if they can get on the board early.
Yeah, that'll be a key thing.
Get their momentum going. So, Avanti's got 2 rushing touchdowns, or 2. He's got 8 rushing touchdowns in 5 games so far. 3 for Caleb, 3 for Mason, 1 for Jaden, 1 for Troy, 1 for Nick Williams, which happened in this game this past Friday. And last thing we'll talk about is Caleb's got 11 passing touchdowns, and Troy and Brady Gibble are tied in receiving touchdowns with 4 apiece. So pretty balanced, favoring the run, but as things have progressed now, we're starting to see Caleb open it up, and he's been Burke's highest rated passer for the majority of the season.
Yeah,
so
I think what was it? He was like 9 for 13.
9 for 13. Yeah.
So like 9 for 13 for 190 yards or something. So again, efficient, super efficient, and I'll tell you what, if he has an efficient game on Friday night, that would be.
We'll
huge.
Be pretty happy about that, huh?
It'll probably be a little bit. Well, not probably. It will be a taller order than this past week by a long shot. However, it's up to the guys to rise to the occasion. So we shall see. All
right, you want to take a look at the highlights?
Yes.
All right, let's take a look. Hopefully, do you think it's going to freeze on me? Should I just reload this now?
I think so.
Immediately.
Yes, I think it will. But
all right, well let's take a moment
you can
here.
See that
it stopped.
It did,
just like every time.
Like,
I don't know what it is.
Spot.
It's always immediately like a minute 10 in or whatever. It always freezes. I don't know what causes that. I really have no idea. So I'm sure it's probably my fault. I think it did it again. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I mean, it's not like we haven't done this before or anything. So Bulldogs at Comets Friday night from Millersville. Again, we started off the game actually pretty quickly. Penn Manor's first series is ended here by the interception by Eli Rotenberg. The Penn Manor quarterback and receiver were not on the same page there. No, Eli sat and saw it. Bulldogs take over. They got inside the red zone, actually inside the 5-yard line, but couldn't make anything happen. They settled for Jack Wagner's first field goal of the year, if you can believe that. With the way he's been booming his kickoffs and extra points, that was a bit of a surprise. But Penn Manor stiffens up on the defensive side and actually stops Avanti short on 4th down, and that would eventually lead to their first and only touchdown against the Bulldog starters here on a run up the middle. And then they would, like I mentioned, they ran these kooky 2-point plays with the center able to snap it left, right, or middle, and they converted. So all of a sudden, it's 8-3 Penn Manor. But Wilson would calm down and start to get a little momentum, and that was started almost immediately after the Penn Manor touchdown by Caleb Brown, taking the read play way down deep inside Penn Manor territory, going out around or inside the 5, and eventually Wilson would capitalize on a short out pass from Brown to Corson. The extra point would be good, and now Wilson would be up 10-8, and they wouldn't give up the lead the rest of the game. But we'll check out the rest of those, just because it's kind of fun. So here we're going to see Avanti's first touchdown, I believe, on nice cutbacks, and this would have our coaches at West screaming about contain on the backside as they lost it, not once, but you're going to see them lose it again on Avanti's second touchdown run. But first, we're going to see the first touchdown pass to Brady Gibble. And it's actually nice to see the camera operator able to catch that one. Brady Gibble's first touchdown pass put Wilson up 24-8. And now we're going to start to see the defense turn things up here. And I'm not sure if this was Ethan Capitano, which I think it was. I think I see 47.
Yes.
Ethan Ashcroft's sack must come later then. But they're going to go back to Avanti. Here is the 40-yard pass I was talking about. Just a little quick pass, but they get good downfield blocking, and Avanti turns it up, uses stiff arm, eventually gets pushed out inside the Comets' 35-yard line. And
it was a play where we had blockers out there who were looking for guys to hit, and people just weren't there.
They weren't there. But then I believe the next play, and this is less than 30 seconds left in the first half, Brown finds Gibble again, and that would put Wilson up 31-8 at halftime. And then we're going to get to see Caleb connect with Eli on a nice pass over the middle. Eli goes up and gets it, makes a nice catch on the ball. And we talked about getting him involved. He only had 3 catches, but he had some nice ones.
He also had the pick,
and the pick on defense as well. And here you're going to see Avanti's second touchdown run. It's just a little counter play. He bounces off a couple people, gets some blocks, and then there's no one in the area as he waltzes in to put Wilson up eventually 38-8 in the early third quarter. Bulldogs get the ball back, and they give it to Mason Leonard, who is going to do a ridiculous stop move here, cut, and walk into the end zone. And that would be it for the starters. Some of them had already been out. I know Adam Venino had tweaked his ankle. He didn't play in the second half at all. I believe at least one of the other offensive linemen was also out. I can't recall which one it was. And that was early in the third quarter. Again, Wilson JVs went in early and often and gave up a touchdown to Penn Manor there. But then we get to see Gavin Leonard just run over people. He didn't try to make him miss at all. He went to run him over. And then the next play is great. He has a huge run here. Makes a nice move. He finds the hole quickly. Makes a great cutback. And he's racing for that pylon. And he doesn't quite get there. He steps out right there. Right there when he dove right around the 2. Or just inside the 2. He went out. But they would let senior quarterback Nick Williams finish the drive here on the read play. And he would follow Leonard into the end zone. That would be Wilson's final scoring play of the night. Penn Manor would tack on another here, and then once again do their crazy 2-point play. And we can see it one more time if you focus on that.
Yeah, that one bounced to him.
Did it bounce to him?
Yeah.
But he still manages to get in to the end zone. So, but there's the final score. Wilson 51, Penn Manor 24. So, we'll take it. Wasn't always pretty, especially early, but hey. Maybe the most disheartening thing was not the slow start, but the injury to AJ Futrick, which was incredibly disappointing after what he's been through with injuries over the years. And he had been playing so well defensively and his time on offense and obviously special teams, which is where the injury occurred. That's not something that we're going to talk about that much. We just want to say, that we're thinking about him, disappointed that happened for him. And hopefully, no matter what is the case, the turnout, he has a quick and speedy recovery.
Yeah. So we wish him the best.
All right. So we saw the highlights. We did the stats. Let's go over our player of the game and then get to our interview. Again, there was multiple options. Again, Vivanti just short of 100, couple touchdowns. Brady Gibble chipping in a couple touchdowns. Two of the Leonard brothers doing some big things on the field as well, which is always fun. But it has been one guy who we haven't designated as the player of the game, although he could have been probably at least 2 times before this, maybe 3. And I just think it was time he got his due, and he had a great game. And when you're the most efficient, highest-ranked passer in the county, you probably should get your time in the spotlight. So our player of the game for Penn Manor is junior quarterback and defensive back Caleb Brown, who I don't think he played defensively against the Comets, however. He had played the last 2 or 3 weeks there at times.
But I don't believe he did.
But I don't think we saw him against Penn Manor. And he had a great game on the ground, through the air. Very efficient, 9 of 13 for 190 yards and 3 touchdowns, and then 5 rushes for 64 yards. And Wilson's going to need him at his best if they want to slay the Blue Streaks this coming week.
Yeah, it's gonna take a good effort, and like we said, build on some of those things. We've seen Caleb and the offense in general, but we've seen him build. We talked about in that first game against Central Dauphin, some of the misses were just off by maybe a couple steps, and then when we looked at a week later against Mifflin, they were just off like the fingertips, and then since then they've been able to connect on some of those long passes, including on Friday night. Building that timing, building those just that routine and that understanding of the offense and where guys are going to be, and understanding to read the defenses and all of those things. He's going to need to be able to build upon all those things he's learned this year, and not just him, but like it kind of focuses on that spot. But the team needs to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's the receivers making sure they're on the same page, and the linemen making sure they're on the same page, picking up the blocks and the different looks they're going to get from Township's defense. All of those things they need to make sure they're ready for, because it's going to take an all around effort. But hopefully they're up for the challenge. Yeah,
and I think they will be. I think they'll be ready to go. I think it's going to be great. So we have one interview to get to. We didn't talk to any of the players. I think the people just wanted to get out of there, get home. But we did want to grab one interview. Someone we'd like to talk about, but he reached the milestone, which we've been talking about in the lead up to the season, and we finally got here, and it actually happened as early as it possibly could, with the Bulldogs off to the undefeated start. So it's been a great time, a great start to the season, and capitalized in this fashion. So let's hear from defensive coordinator Ernie Wolber. All right, we're post-game now after another Wilson victory, this time over the Penn Manor Comets in Millersville. Standing with me, you know him, defensive coordinator Ernie Wolber. Coach Wolber, what do you have to say after the Bulldogs' 5th victory of the season against Penn Manor?
It always feels good to get a win. I mean, I think Dabo Sweeney said it best, where he said half the teams wins, half the teams lose. So in a win, you got to celebrate a win. So it's kind of bittersweet with the injury we got tonight, but hopefully things work out. But a win's a win. I'll take it.
Yeah, you mentioned it, and unfortunately, Wilson lost a big part of their team tonight. A.J. Fudrick went down with a leg injury. And what does it mean to the team, to your defense? I know you feel for him. What do you have to say to him right now?
AJ he's been injured a lot, and this year all of a sudden he's really grown up. He's mature, and he was having a great year for us. He was kind of like the heart of our defense, like emotional leader and intense guy. Just made subtle comments to get people going. So we really need to figure it out quickly what we're going to do next, because he was an intricate part of our defense. So we got to figure things out this week. My job just got harder.
Well, what did you like about the players on the field tonight, your defensive side? What did you see early, late? Was there a standout performance, or just kind of here, get the job done and move on?
Yeah, it was kind of workman's type day as a business day. Let's come out and take care of business and go. It was nice to see a couple of the seniors that don't get a lot of playing time get pushed into action with a couple of dinged up injuries, so we pulled kids out quick for precautions. But seeing a Mason Hall go on the field and a man speaker go on the field, and guys like that who don't get an opportunity, Johnny Wildman, guys who don't get a chance to play a whole lot, play extended time tonight, and they did a nice job for us.
Do you know quick jerk reaction of what you're going to do to replace AJ if he would miss some time here? Is it by committee? Is it a shift in scheme? Do you have any idea? Did that jump into your head once that happened?
It jumped in my head immediately. I got to do a lot of thinking tomorrow. Tomorrow was going to be a nice day, but it's not going to be now.
Preparations for Manheim Township, or not preparation, but what to expect? What does MT do to let everyone know?
Township is very, very skilled at wideout. They got a 6'5" receiver. They got a kid named Ivy, which was injured, but he's like a kid that's getting all kinds of offers, 4'4", about 40 guy. They have good running back. Their quarterback's going to Colgate. I mean, they're loaded offensively. Offensive line isn't the biggest offensive line, but they're very aggressive, very athletic. So it's gonna be a tough battle.
Okay, absolutely. Now, this was the 5th game of the year, and how many wins does Wilson have so far?
5.
And how many wins? How many wins did you have entering the year?
I have no idea, Joe. You told me, but I don't remember.
You had 195. So tonight, on behalf of Justin and I from the Bulldog Hour, we would like to congratulate you on your 200th victory as a Wilson assistant coach. And, hey, why don't we get another 200? That sounds good to me. What do you think?
Let's do it. That's awesome. Thank you very much to everybody who did this. This is neat. It means we have good kids and good players. Thank you very much.
All right. That's it with post-game.
All right. So there's a picture of the football, if you couldn't see it in the video, that we presented with Coach Wolber after his victory Friday night. The Bulldogs win moved him to 200 with the program. He started here in the fall of 2000 on the varsity staff, so we wanted to congratulate him. And we haven't forgot about the other people that have gotten there. It's just these presentations that we've been doing, or that we have sitting behind me that we can show you, done by Jamie, the ball girl. Just came up this year, and I think they're pretty cool. And we saw the opportunity that was presented to congratulate Ernie, and we went for it. So, congratulations to him on a great career so far, and hopefully there's many more wins to come.
Yeah, it was fun. He said it, and then I believe he mentioned it on Twitter too. So much goes into it. He's worked with other great coaches, great kids, great parents. Just lots of stuff goes into it. So
Yep.
It was fun.
Absolutely. So congratulations again to Ernie Wolver and the entire Wilson staff and players on their fast start this year. And we look forward to a really strong second half, which is going to continue here this Friday at Gurski, a packed Wilson campus, as it will be water polo's Beast of the East weekend. And the football game will not only be, one of the highlights around the state, it will also be Wilson's homecoming and Hall of Fame night. So
Yeah.
get there early is what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah. If you live close, you may just want to walk.
That might be a good idea too. Yeah, I think that's a good distinct possibility. If you are able to, do it that way. If you can't make it for whatever reason, I believe the school will have their game cast through Wilson Media Productions.
That would be my understanding, yeah.
And I will again share that feed, since they started broadcasting that on Facebook through their official Wilson School District page. I will share that on the Wilson Bulldogs football page on Facebook, and you can watch a professionally curated 3-camera HD setup, which trumps my iPad sideline. No disrespect to Justin Burke, who does a phenomenal job for me running up and down.
Hustling back and forth.
Running back and forth and trying to keep everyone up to date. I also appreciate the people that have reached out this year and to help defray the costs of streaming. We had 2 earlier in the season and 2 recently as well. Kelly and Dawn stepping up and helping out to take care of that and make sure that people can watch the away game streams, as the school has now made it easier for me to get that pro stream on the Facebook site. So that's definitely a place you want to watch the home games if you're unable to make it to Gurski. But yeah, so Manheim Township kind of has stepped up and become Wilson's rival in the Lancaster-Lebanon League. it's always been Wilson and everyone else for a number of years, but there's always one team that seems to be the one that you can circle on the calendar. And since about, I don't know, what about 2014, 2015, somewhere in there, it was kind of Township.
15, but I don't know that that's the
Well,
actual year.
I mean, that's
when
when
I'm just drawing that out of the
that
air.
was when people thought that it could be their time to shine, and they were the team to challenge Wilson, but Wilson beat them pretty handily in 2015. It wasn't much of a contest. It was at Manheim Township, and it wasn't that close. But that was when things started. 2014 was kind of transition year because 2011, 2012, 2013 for sure, the big team was coincidentally Penn Manor. 2012 and 2013,
which we talked a lot about on Friday night,
was the year with Charlie Bell.
Yeah,
as a junior and a senior, and they were
those
a tough
teams,
out for
those
Wilson.
Teams were so good.
They were very good. 2014.
But so were those Wilson teams.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like Wilson was so talented from 2011 through 2016. Like it was tough to figure out who was going to be that team to knock them off. For a while, people thought it'd be Penn Manor, and they gave a great effort in 12 and 13. Couldn't get the job done. It was supposed to be Township come 15, but they waited another year. In 2016, we saw them give Wilson all their best, and Wilson came out on top with a late Connor Yurg touchdown run. But I remember after the game talking with Doug, and him, he took a sip of his water and shook his head and just said, "They've got everyone back next year."
I remember,
and
that.
we have to go. Yeah, it was me, you, and him.
Yep.
And he said 2017 at Township's going to be tough, and well. That's when that streak came to an end.
Right.
That exact game a year later, and obviously we already talked about Wilson losing to Manheim Township again that season in the playoffs. It's tough to beat Wilson one time, right. Especially in the last 15 years or so, but to do it twice in the same season is a bit unheard of. Thankfully for us as Bulldogs, we got to see Wilson beat Township last year, and hopefully we can continue the trend this year.
That would be nice.
But it's another bowl, another huge challenge because much like after the 2016 game when Doug was saying they got a lot back, well, guess what? Township gave us all we could handle last year, and they've got basically everyone back. They have their top 10 tacklers from a year ago back.
That's hard to do.
That is very hard to do. And the two biggest are the Emge brothers, the twins, at outside linebacker. But I mean, they've got talent all over the board.
Yeah.
If there, I don't even want to say weakness because it's not a weakness. It's just their linemen aren't as big as they had been the last few years, but they're back. Like they're the same guys they had last year, and we had trouble at times with them last year.
Right.
Now, none of that he's huge, overwhelming presence that we've seen with Hempfield or Central Dauphin earlier this year. They're not going to look massive. Like some, these aren't like 6'5", 280 tackles or anything like this. But they're quick, they're strong. Mark Evans, I believe this is his 7th year with Manheim Township, he's turned that program around. I mean, he has built that program to rival what Wilson does.
Yeah,
and they have succeeded.
Absolutely. And you mentioned it, and I mean, it's not going to be a shock to anyone. It's going to take.
It's going to be a battle,
a huge effort, and
it's going to be all 4 quarters,
right? And
don't plan to leave this one early.
No. I mean, I kind of alluded to it earlier when we were talking about some of the players, and I kind of went through a number of them there, but it's going to take the guys pretty much across the board to build on what they've done so far this year.
Yeah.
It's going to take those improvements that we talk about building every week. It is cliche, and it is one of those things that you hear a lot, but how when you try to put like a finger on it, what exactly does that mean? It can be hard to kind of define, but basically, like what it comes down to is this has to be their best game. Like this has to be the best game they played so far.
Yeah,
and we've seen moments where Wilson has looked really good, and then moments where you have little lapses here and there, and that's to be expected. You're not going to have a perfect game, and I'm not saying that they need or will have a perfect game on Friday night. I don't. But it needs to be the best game they've played.
Right.
I mean, and so you keep working. You need to be better. You need to be better each time. And if they want to be in a position to win the game on Friday night, they need to continue to build and play to their capability. Like, and that's the thing. Like, if they play to their capability, I'm confident that they'll have a shot.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't mean that sounded more negative than I wanted it to sound. Like, I think they're going to be in a position where it could go their way. I just also know that they're up against a team that's really good and is also, probably understands that this may need to be their best too to date. Both teams have played Central Dauphin, and Central Dauphin is a tough team, and it's really hard, especially with Wilson, because that was the first game of the season.
Right.
So there's lots that can go into that. But I think both teams would kind of acknowledge it at this point. You're hitting that stride, and
you're 5 games in now. You know what you are. You know what you're good at. You know where your weaknesses are.
It's going to take a strong effort by either team to win this game. So I'm confident the Wilson boys will be up for the challenge.
They have a returning quarterback, a returning running back, returning linemen, returning receivers, and we talked the defense is basically all back. So this is a seasoned group, a veteran group. Wilson's led by a lot of seniors too, but not all of them were contributing at meaningful times last year. They have some new starters, some guys that got to step up. Perhaps the biggest wild card could be the possibility of a return of Matt Fry for the Bulldogs, who we haven't seen him yet this year. The last time we saw him on the field was against Parkland in the scrimmage, before he got popped and broke his jaw, and he's been out ever since. Right. So you would hope, but you certainly can't count on it. He wasn't back this week. He wants to be back, but you also know that they're not going to let him come back before he's able to be back. So who knows what that'll look like? And it's just one of those things where the guys, I'm confident that they've done their work. They've worked really hard for the games like this. Not that you don't work hard for every game, obviously, but there's a lot on the line here. These are the reasons. These are the games where when you have those miserable mornings when you're up there pushing sleds in the middle of the summer, and it's 95 degrees and super humid and all that stuff. These are the types of games that you're doing this for, so that when you get to crunch time, when you're up against the best competition, let's see what you got. Yeah, and for years when that happened, if Wilson was the underdog, Wilson would still win the game. That was the thing. At least it talking about league play and into the district playoffs. Once you get into the state playoffs, it's a little bit different. But Wilson a lot of time would rise to the top even when they weren't expected to. I mean, I'm thinking back.
Pittsburgh Central Catholic, different kind of favorite.
A little bit different. But like back in 2013 and 2014, when after that huge group from 2012 graduated and they thought this was the time to get Wilson, those two teams went undefeated in the regular season. Yeah. Like sometimes, and I say this all the time, and I'm sure most people, especially coaches, you want to be an underdog. You don't it's not good to be the top dog because you're getting everyone's best shot, and you have the possibility of players getting overconfident in their abilities. And we've seen that, unfortunately, harm the Bulldogs before. And I'm not saying that now. I'm saying we're the underdog. We are the underdog.
I was going to say, make no mistake that Wilson's the underdog this weekend.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't know that there's many people outside of Wilson that are gonna expect Wilson to win. Yeah. Now, I don't think people expect necessarily Manheim Township to roll over Wilson like they have everyone else.
They've only given up a touchdown in every game. That's it.
Right. And against Central Dauphin, it was a blocked field goal run back for a touchdown.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, their defense is so good. Teams find it tough to move on them. And who's to say? And I haven't gone back and looked at all their games. Some of those touchdowns could have been given up near the end of the game.
They've had a bunch of turnovers in some of those games that put the defense in tough spots.
Right. But they haven't cracked.
Right. No, the defense is held strong in every game. So, outside, from the people we follow to the people, we talk to all kinds of stuff. Yeah. Outside of West Lawn, I think, we certainly are the underdog here. So, I think with the insight we have and being able to see every game and see those things, we get a better look than almost anyone else. There are obviously other people that go to all the games, but in terms of LL football, the people who are going to be writing about the game and stuff like that, a lot of those people don't see every game or anything like that. So, I think it's a great matchup. Like, kind of playing back to what we said, it's a highly anticipated matchup in Pennsylvania high school football, not just LL football, not just District 3, but across the state. This is one of the premier games.
Well, yeah, if you're following, the 6A level, you want to know what the top teams are doing. And when you have two 6A teams meeting each other in the regular season and they're both undefeated, it has playoff implications. And you could be looking at teams that are competing to be in that group of Final Four, the Final Two in the West, Final Two in the East, because the District 3 champ is in the Final Four.
Yeah. Oh, and just remember that we bring this up a couple times. The higher seed hosts every game in the district playoffs this year,
right?
In District 3.
So whoever number one, you could have three
because
home
of that.
games.
Like, both of these teams this week have aspirations of bigger things.
Yeah, this is huge.
You take it one game at a time, but both these teams have aspirations to higher goals, and this game will go a long way in determining, if they meet again, where will that game be?
So the Township quarterback is Harrison Kirk. He started last year, threw for over 2,300 yards and 19 touchdowns. He's going to Colgate. Their tight end, Ben Mann, is committed to Yale. They have a huge group of wide receivers. They have a really good running back in Jaden Floyd. I'm drawing a blank on I think actually Coach Wolber mentioned a few of the wideouts names.
Anthony Ivy is one of them.
Ivy, Brett Benjamin, Stokes. And then I mentioned on defense, especially though they do play offense as well, Josh and Sam Emge are the big guys to know on the Township sideline. So, if they have a question mark going in, it's some of the replacements or greener players along the line, which is a benefit for Wilson because Wilson has 5 seniors on offense. And for the most part, they've been the biggest reason why Wilson's been successful, especially against Central Dauphin. I mean, we gave them our player of the game for the work of the offensive line. And honestly, for Wilson to win this week, they probably have to have a huge game.
No, I agree. That's definitely something that they're going to have to be able to do. They're going to have to be able to neutralize that line because you're going to get, that Township defense is better than solid the whole way through. You have to control the line of scrimmage. And on defense, you have to control the line of scrimmage because, while they can pass, obviously they've got the talented quarterback, they have the talented wide receivers and everything there. You have to try and take away something.
Yep. So, I mean, it's...
And Coach Wolver kind of alluded to that. Like, he's not sure exactly what... they've been thinking about this a long time, but they kind of have to... They're going to work to come up with a plan. So, hopefully, the guys are on top of their assignments and do their job. And that's kind of the key here, too. Like, sometimes you can get caught up in trying to do too much. You just need to do your job. Do your job and trust that the other guys will do their job. And if everyone does, then you'll be in a position to be successful.
7 o'clock this Friday, September 27th at Gurski in West Lawn. Huge game, biggest game of the year. I mean, we knew that going in that Wilson had 4 huge games, all of which were at home.
Which is crazy.
We're through 2 of them. Wilson's obviously no blemishes.
There was a guy who asked me, one of the reporters asked me, so what are your home games this year? And I read them off to him. He's like, you get them all at home? I was like, yeah. He's like, whoa.
Yeah. Well, we had to play them all on the road.
Yeah, they were all on the road last year.
So, and it didn't go great. We only won 1 of the 4.
Right.
And we were in them, especially the Manheim Central one.
Yeah.
But, hey, that's the way it works out. And you got to win your home games. And if you win your home games this year, you're going to be in pretty good position.
Yeah.
So, the toughest road game remaining is Cedar Crest, and that's after Township, Hempfield, and Warwick. And they're week 9.
Yeah.
And that's a huge game. It'll be the last of these undefeated teams that where they sit right now. We're all undefeated. Obviously, come week 9, that won't be the case. Most likely for there could be the round robin thing like last year where
it could be.
we beat Township, Township beats Warwick, Warwick beats us, and you throw Cedar Crest in there, and who knows what'll happen.
Yeah, who knows? But
So.
hopefully we can rise to the occasion and get that win on Friday, and stay in control, and not need help from other teams. So that's the goal. And you can't really worry what everyone else is going to do. But if you win your games, you don't have to worry about what everyone else does. Like, you don't need help if you keep winning your games. Right. So we'll see. Big game.
On the spot, winner and final score prediction. Yeah, we don't do that.
No, we do not. We do not.
Yeah, that would get us in. Yeah, that's not anywhere where we're journeying. We're happy to recap the game after it is over, and I would appreciate the opportunity to broadcast interviews next week.
To be fair, it comes up for away games sometimes because we have a car ride and we have to talk about something. But
what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah.
No. But that's
it always devolves though into what do I want to happen, what do I think will happen, and what do I hope doesn't happen.
Exactly.
Like, it's just me laying out all scenarios.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's about does it. Before we go, I just want to thank our new sponsor, Andy, who we got to see on Friday night after the Penn Manor game. Andy's
sporting the Wilson gear.
That's right. And should we say it? I don't know if we've ever said it on the air. Have we said he's a Warwick grad?
Oh, I don't know that we have. No, but yes, he is very in tune with the Warwick teams. Yeah,
he knows a lot about all the LL teams. He's been covering football, and he's diehard into LL hoops.
Oh my gosh!
If you need basketball coverage, I know obviously the Bulldogs aren't in the LL for basketball, but if you're interested in what happens, across District 3 for basketball, you want to check out llhoops.com and follow Andy Brackets on Twitter. So
yeah.
That's a great follow, and we appreciate him for helping us out here at the Bulldog Hour, and look forward to hopefully seeing him again this year.
We talked about potential matchups where we may get to see him.
So. Yeah, so it could happen. But anything else for you? Anything to add? Any announcements to make? Any congratulations? No, the field hockey team's 10-0, looking really good.
Right, yeah, keep it rolling.
And the soccer team's performing well as well. Yeah. Volleyball getting things done. So it's good fall for Wilson, and I know last weekend the marching band got first in their division as well.
They did. Doing very well.
So we always appreciate everything that Mr. Cooper does for the football team throughout the year, and we look forward to obviously seeing them during the regular season games, but they'll be joining us along as well as the cheerleaders at the alumni game in October. So come out. It'll be like a regular football game. Just instead of seeing athletes in their prime, you'll see those that are no longer in their prime.
You'll see those reminiscing.
But it'll still
be
fun.
Yeah.
You get to hear names that you heard literally 50 years ago called out on the field, as well as 40, 30, 20, and 10. So there'll be some current ones. They'll probably still in shape. People are like, "Are you playing?" I'm like, no, I'm not playing, for a variety of reasons. One of them being that I am not in that shape to perform on the football field.
Shape, not that shape.
Yeah, it's a shape, but it's not the proper shape, not the one that is necessary to run around with fellow 30-somethings on a football field. So
I understand.
But all right, I think that about wraps it up for the 12th episode of the Bulldog Hour's 5th season. We're already at the most shows we've ever done in one season, and we're only halfway through the regular season. So.
I would love nothing more than to have some more interviews for you next week.
Hey,
so
next week and also in December.
Yes. I would love lots of interviews between now and the next 2 months. So
sounds good to me.
All
right. For Justin Rapoff and the entire Wilson Bulldogs football team, that's it for the show this week. But remember, until next time, go Bulldogs.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Bulldog Hour. Want more Wilson football? Follow the show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud. Or visit www.bulldoghour.com. The Bulldog Hour is a featured program on jmnjrradio.com.